August 23rd, 2023. Well, in this video, I want to talk about something that I've been noticing quite a bit for a long time now. The Democrat Party has been going on railing about the threat to democracy posed by MAGA Republicans, and just kind of that continues to blither on with this kind of nonsense all the time, as if that somehow the basic structure of the country is being threatened by Republicans. It's really, whereas in reality, in the last Congress, if it hadn't been for two Democrats, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, there would have been major changes underway to our entire system. We're talking about a threat to the system, which is actually a republic, not a democracy. But at any rate, the system that we've known all these years was under major threat by the Democrats, who were planning on basically ending the filibuster in order to do such extreme things as basically legalize, full-scale ballot harvesting nationwide, mass mail-out ballots, stacking the Supreme Court with liberals who would then just simply make the Constitution what the liberals wanted it to be, and who knows what else they'd have. I'm sure some radical gun control measures and other things. I mean, this is and probably legalizing incredible numbers of illegal immigrants in this country, trying to create basically a permanent Democrat majority, or at least one that would last so long that most of us probably wouldn't be around to see the end of it. And that is the real threat to the country that's posed by the Democrat Party. And it seems to me that the Republicans ought to focus a little bit more on putting this message out, that not vote for the Democrats because they're a threat every way, shape, or form. I mean, for instance, this whole thing of the, basically, I guess, due to the Soros organization, which is very closely linked to the Biden administration. It's a Democrat organization, and obviously, and they're basically promoting a pro-criminal policy. They're trying to really basically release criminals on the street. They're basically creating situations where you have, in areas where they're really dominant, massive looting of stores in broad daylight sometimes, to the point the stores are starting to close down, and people are not even having the convenience of having stores in their neighborhood because of these insane policies. And so it seems to me like, while I do see some commentary on like Fox News and so forth, and I'm sure other conservative sources, but the point is, it seems to me the candidates and the party as a whole just really isn't hitting this hard enough, that we need to develop a harder language to really address this subject, because it seems to me that we're not really getting it out. One of the points is, I think if it's on Fox News, there's a limited number of people that actually watch it. Or if it's on Newsmax, there's a limited number of people that watch that too. And so if the main candidates aren't talking about this and making this a major part of their campaign very vocally, it's not going to get through to, let's say, all the local news networks, and even the major news networks, I think, would effectively pick it up, probably to criticize it, but people at least would hear the message. And because I hear all the message about MAGA Republicans on Fox News, that obviously, because I hear Joe Biden saying it. Okay. Well, if you like these videos, please give me a like. I'd like to get some more subscriptions, and of course, you can forward this to anybody that wants to hear them, and they can click the bell for notifications. So yeah, that's the point I think that we maybe are missing here, is we need a little bit more of a really full-scale attack on the Democrat Party, its basic ideology, its incredible threat to the overall structure of our system, and its objective to create a one-party state where I call it, really, although in a way you could say it's neo-Marxist, but it's also basically a fascist system in the textbook definition, where you have a unity of these so-called woke corporations with a political party, the Democrat Party, to control the country. And that is textbook fascism, if you think about it. It's always an economic system of that sort, controlled for a political agenda. And so all this stuff has been going on for years, and I think it really took, the country really took a bad turn when they elected Barack Obama president. And because this guy was basically fundamentally more radical than any of the other contemporary Democrats at the time, certainly more so than Bill Clinton or even Al Gore or any of these other people, I think, at that time. Now in the wake of these people, I think they became a little more radical themselves, to the point that now we got that only two somewhat iconoclastic Democrat senators blocked them from their power seizure. Unfortunately, in the last election, the Republicans gained a slim control of the House, and of course, a Senate election is coming up, and this particular thing, it's basically disadvantageous to the Democrats in terms of the number of seats they have to defend. And we actually, the Republicans did a pretty good job of defending their seats in a fairly disadvantageous year, which was the 2022 election. And so, the thing there was, of course, is the complete blunder of the intervention of our former president to get people like Herschel Walker as a nominee in Georgia, and Dr. Oz as the a nominee in Pennsylvania, which pretty much handed those two states to the Democrats. I'm not sure what could have been done about Pennsylvania, although I think McCormick would have had a much better chance. And I think just not having the knockdown battle between the two would have helped too. And of course, but I point out also that Walker was really a poor choice because he hadn't been properly vetted. And so this was kind of like, this was all over emotionalism and personal issues more than it was over real strategy. But like I say, that everything, this country is still at risk if the Democrats were to sweep the floor in the 2024 election, getting the House, the Senate, and retain the presidency. If they were to do that, we might really have the disaster that we avoided in the previous Congress actually happening. And I think that's something we need to really focus on, the danger these people have, and as their failed policies. They recently just made another one of their little tricks where you had some environmental groups filing a lawsuit. And instead of defending the energy policies that the country needs to have to be self-sufficient, no, they settled out of court and just gave it away to these guys. And now it'll take, a really significant number of areas for offshore drilling in the Gulf out of the way, supposedly because of some unproven threat to the whales, while their windmills are causing massive deaths of whales on the East Coast. I mean, this is the kind of thing that's going on, and we need to be a little more aggressive about it. I think yes, economy is important, and definitely inflation is bad, and that's a big issue. And of course, we should definitely emphasize that. That's another disaster. This inflation wouldn't have happened if they hadn't have gone on a spending spree as soon as they got in control. I mean, this is totally generated by their failure. And of course, now we have the cross purposes of the Fed fighting with monetary policy, the fiscal policy that the Democrats have instituted. And by the way, although all these two senators I mentioned are not necessarily people I would overall want to support for the Senate, in the event they have done a lot to prevent the disaster, but nonetheless, they did vote for this so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which didn't reduce any inflation, and it's putting a lot of money into dubious projects. So anyway, that's just kind of what I think about the subject, and I thought I'd just kind of, hit that subject as we're getting ready to see the Republican debate. Of course, this is basically a debate, I guess you'd say, for who wants to be the runner-up, right? I mean, the second place finisher, because obviously Trump is so far ahead that with all these people competing, nobody has a chance to even come close to him. And they probably wouldn't be able to even if they didn't have all the people competing, but because he's very popular, obviously. And of course, he's also subjected to 4 indictments, and now he's going to have to surrender, I guess, the day after the debate and post a $200,000 bail to get out. Well, you let these Democrats let street criminals that are repeat offenders out all over the country to go out and loot more. Anyway, so I'll just kind of wrap this up for now. By the way, I'll always be posting this on my alternative channel on Rumble, and of course the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. All for now, until next time.